Today I'll be talking with John Vaccaro, founding partner at Mobilis Consulting. Hey John, I'm really looking forward to hearing about your Caspio and low-code journey. So please start us off and share with everyone a little bit about yourself and your company.
Sure. Okay, Paul. So the company's Mobilis Consulting, and we've been working in the enterprise mobility space for many years now. And what we try to do is to connect the physical world of products and shipments and so on to the IT world. So that normally involves some key disciplines, things like mobile computers that operators will use as part of their kind of workflow activity. And it will include some form of application that runs on that mobile device. And then importantly, some back-end integration. So typically the customers we have are all major enterprise customers, and they often have highly customized back-end systems or core products that we need to integrate that data that we collect, process it and provide it in a form that those systems can take. So very often the systems that we develop are quite highly customized, and we've got a skill set within the development team here in the UK that spans kind of conventional .NET development, Java development, and more cloud-based technologies, particularly around Amazon, AWS cloud services and Lambdas and so on. So that's the type of application we get into. Often the customers have many hundreds, or in some cases thousands, of diverse and remote workers. So to give you an example, a retail customer that we have close to 40,000 devices that with our applications on that they process through their supply chain from the point of order in manufacturing all the way to the point of sale. So that's kind of what we do.
No, it's interesting. And I was looking at your website earlier, John, lots of big name companies on there as well. So Mobilis is doing pretty good, I think.
We'll try and keep the wolf from the door a little bit longer, but no, we're good. And I think Caspio is part of that vision, really, because although, as I said, we develop a lot of customized solutions, very often, the Caspio is the initial step. It allows you to kind of prototype some ideas and translate that into a meaningful way for a client. So it's very important as part of our portfolio.
Oh, good. So you've been a customer, John, for 4 years with Caspio. Can you remember what drove you to consider low code and obviously Caspio at the end of your research?
Yes, a couple of key challenges, really, Paul, at the time. So what we were finding was even though we have internal capability in a lot of these areas, often the resource that we needed to prototype with a customer either was too expensive for us to utilize our own people, or those people weren't available because they're tied up on other projects. So we wanted to have a tool that allowed a non-programmer the ability to put together a very credible and very effective solution in the minimum amount of time. And to be honest, to prototype that, I looked at the market. Caspio was one of the products that we looked at, and I thought, if I can do this, then everyone else can do it. And we developed a simple little application by looking at the example and the templates that you provide, and we were up and running within hours. So we thought, that this is something, there is some merit, and obviously we invested a bit more time after that to develop. Since then, we initially started to prototype, but since then, to be frank, there are a lot of customers and a lot of applications where Caspio is the solution. It's one that we've been able to deploy, and because it's so robust and so flexible, it's maintained as the solution. So we may augment or develop around Caspio, but the core of the architecture and the core of the application is a Caspio product.
Yeah. You mentioned the customers that you work closely with, these big enterprise customers. Can you share with everyone a little bit about what the application that you've built does and kind of who the end users are?
Sure. So one example, we've built probably 20 different applications now on the Caspio platform. But one that I can share with you is we have a big global retailer, clothing retailer, that supplies or sources products in the Far East across around 250 different suppliers for their garments and homeware. And they provide that service to distribute those into Eastern Europe. So there are about 8 or 9 different countries that their supply chain manages that too. And they needed a way of identifying the products and particularly for anti-fraud. And that was it. So they had an anti-fraud requirement where they wanted to individually identify a particular item or garment that had been manufactured. And if you look at some of the initiatives, for example, Armani is one of the companies now that uniquely identify every garment that they make to prevent kind of counterfeiting issues in the Far East. So one of the applications we have is we provided a mobile application on an Android device, and that's an app that can be downloaded from the kind of Android Google Play Store. That application records these identification tags that go into the garments, and that's a simple 2D barcode that is placed on the ticket. We record that on the device, and then as part of an order, that information is sent over the Caspio API into a back-end application that we developed in Caspio with a series of databases. And there are many, hundreds of thousands of these items that are shipped on a monthly basis through the supply chain. On the Caspio side, we obviously have the API that incorporates that information. We ran a series of reports that report on that information through a website that we developed in Caspio. And then we also, through the API, developed some Lambda AWS components that extract that data under our programmatic control and format it in a way that the customer can process. So end to end, Caspio is the kind of glue that pulls that system together. And we've developed around that the mobile application that's used by the suppliers, and then the reporting and the extraction tool that the retailer would use to put into their ERP system.
You're pretty technical, I think, John, from what I'm kind of finding as we're talking through here. A lot of our customers are not really technical. I was talking to a customer just a couple of days ago, and they've built their application from scratch themselves and no technical background whatsoever. And so a lot of our customers work with our professional services team, which I don't think you've done that. So how did you actually find building the application? Because I think the majority of you've done it yourself.
Yes. Well, certainly, I would say about 90% of the time we've been able to do it ourselves. And that, in part, that's down to the training that we had and the online resources that Caspio provided. So sure, we are, relatively speaking, a technical organization, maybe more technical than some customers. To be honest, in a couple of cases, though, we have called on Caspio's professional services, because at times, we didn't have that specific requirement or that level of resource. Or sometimes, as I say, it's easier just to contract the Caspio team in and actually ask you to develop those add-on components. I remember some kind of JavaScript stuff that the professional services team developed literally within a few days, where we didn't have resource available probably for weeks. So we have done it, although, as you rightly said, we've got capabilities ourselves in the most part.
No, it's good to hear. So what type of return on investment are you seeing, John? Are you seeing like an efficiency saving, hard dollar saving, maybe a combination of both? Because like I say, you've been working with us now for 4 years, so it'd be interesting to kind of get a feel as to and a sense as to how it's benefiting you.
So I think in practice, the Caspio platform, originally when we looked at it, we thought, if this can take half a development, half a developer's time, if we can provide that with what the licensing for Caspio is, then we've got a return on investment. We managed to achieve that literally within about 6 months in the first year, and subsequently everything else that we've got from Caspio is an add-on benefit to that. And we found that probably half of the business that we've won that now is on the Caspio platform, and we wouldn't have won without it, because we couldn't have developed a prototype quickly enough, or we couldn't have developed a sufficiently feature-rich solution without a tool like Caspio. Because even though we're an agile organization, even though we've got some good developers, there are always opportunities. That the market is moving at such a pace that there's always someone out there that we feel we can deliver a better solution by using low code.
Yeah. John, if somebody's looking at low code, what advice would you give them to kind of like get their feet wet to some degree? What would you say?
I would say try it out. I mean, as I say, we had an opportunity and we thought, well, rather than try and do a lot of research and benchmark the market, with some esoteric application, go and try and pitch it to a customer. And we had a solution, literally available. I think from memory, we saw the customer at the beginning of the week. By the end of that same week, we had something hosted online, which delivered what they want. So I think that's the key advice. Spend a bit of time and probably give it to the people that are systemically minded, that know an operational process rather than the developer. Because in your first instance, if you've got an operational process that you can bring to the cloud with Caspio, then immediately that demonstrates the benefits, and if you put it into the IT team and have them do an analysis, they will always look at some things that maybe the platform doesn't do or doesn't do as well as they can do internally. But that's not really the market. The market is business associates, systems analysts, database skilled people who can actually see a concept and translate that concept into a solution. Yeah,
some great advice there. So kind of my final question is really thinking about, if you're looking ahead, how can you see low code and Caspio helping you in the future?
I think certainly the capability, the platform is growing. And whereas in the early days of our journey with Caspio, there was quite a defined set of applications that we could look at. Over recent years, I think we started off at a basic plan and now have gone all the way through the Caspio tiers to a business plan. And things like the single sign-on capabilities that are in the higher end products have been a real godsend to us, because for us, that means we can integrate more closely with the infrastructure that our large customers require. So I think it takes Caspio further up the value chain for us and for our customers as well. There's a lot of potential benefit around, extending the platform into other parts of the business.
Well, John, thank you for your time. Thank you for sharing your Caspio and low code journey. I really appreciate it. And thank you for being a Caspio customer. Really appreciate that too. Thanks very much.
Pleasure, Paul. Thanks for all your support over the years.